Breaking news in Toronto, Canada's largest Pride parade is back on the move. A protest by the Black Lives Matter group brought the march to a halt for at least 30 minutes. The organization was given the status of honored group for the event, which is the grand finale of the Pride Month. Now, Alexandria Williams is a co-founder of the Black Lives Matter movement in Toronto, and she joins us now. So, Alexandria, thank you for making the time for us. I have to ask the question that everyone in Toronto is asking. Why did Black Lives Matter halt the Pride Parade?
The reality is we halted the Pride Parade today because Pride Toronto as an organization has been constantly pushing Black folk in terms of their programming, other marginalized communities, in terms of the programming in a very far place away in order for us to celebrate our Pride. So today we held Pride accountable for their anti-Blackness, for their anti-indigeneity, for the fact that we have been pushed to the margins way too long.
Well, you had been invited to be an honored guest there. I'm wondering, had you informed Pride organizers that you were planning to disrupt the march?
We did not let Pride organizers know that we were going to interrupt the march. However, I think it was very clear from our actions at the mural when Pride decided to unveil the mural celebrating the unification, the false unification between trans community, queer communities, especially trans communities and queer communities of color, of having a safe relationship with the police. After that happened, it was very clear that we were not too happy with Pride and the way in which they had treated us as their honor group and other Black community members who have given and made so much space for Pride.
Okay, and you're addressing concerns about other marginalized gay and queer communities being left out, but this parade was seen as a coming together of various LGBT communities, especially in the wake of the Orlando tragedy, where the vast majority of those who were killed were people of color. They were from various Latino backgrounds. This was also a historic parade because it's the first time a sitting prime minister was participating, and it was seen for various progressive groups as a good day. Was your timing appropriate for the sit-in?
I think our timing is appropriate whenever we talk about the fact that there are Black, trans, and queer people who are dying at outrageous rates at the hand of the police. And when we talk about the fact that marginalized groups have been pushed to the back, even in terms of the planning on Friday, you had the trans march, you had the powwow, you had Black queer youth stages, all happening at the same times. For folks who come from different intersections, it was very hard to celebrate Pride in a way that represents your identities. So we were able to bring light to that today. And regardless of if the Prime Minister was there, he could be here, but he can't be in Ottawa, which needs his direct attention right now. We're talking about the police chief we were outside for 15 days asking him to see us, and he showed up here today to erase a trans community and a queer community that is going through brutalizations at the hand of the police. It is always the appropriate time to make sure that folks know that the marginalization of Black people, the marginalization of Black queer youth, of Black trans youth, of Black trans people as a whole.
Alexandria, I need to jump in at this moment because many are watching what unfolded today in Toronto and looking at the Black Lives Matter movement in critical terms. They're saying that you took time and space away from a group that has its own fair share of marginalization, of discrimination, of violence. Again, I'm referring to what took place in Orlando, but also what happens really right around the world. In many places where being gay is illegal, this, again, was a moment to address that issue. So I wonder, have you done yourself and your group a disservice by taking that space away from them?
We're not taking any space away from any folks. When we talk about homophobia, when we talk about transphobia, we go through that too as Black people. This is our space the same way. They are in our spaces. We are doing this together. It should be a cohesive unit of how we actually fight against oppressions. It should not be one against the other. Anti-Blackness and homophobia are things that need to be addressed, and they can be addressed at the same time, in the same spaces. It does not need to be one or the other. It could be two at the same time.
Okay.
We did not take... Yes.
Okay, so in order for the parade to move forward, the Toronto Pride director had to sign an agreement on the terms presented by the Black Lives Matter movement. I wonder what were those terms and how exactly this agreement came about.
We were talking to other groups like Black queer youth and Blockarama, who came to us and was talking to us about the way that Pride Toronto has treated them, with their meetings and consultations with community. We came with them demands together. One of the demands was to increase the funding to Blockarama, which is one of the biggest stages at Pride, to make sure that BQY has a permanent stage and also has funding, to make sure that there's Black ASL interpreters available for these stages, to make sure that there's a reinstitution of South Asian stages, of Bollywood stages, so that they will be able to represent and be a part of Pride, and also to make sure that there will be no police floats in the next Pride next year.
It sounds to some that you're bullying your way into getting the terms that you wanted. Yes, I understand you're working for other marginalized groups, but you didn't have a South Asian organization doing this. You didn't have a Puerto Rican organization doing this. You had your organization doing it and making sole demands. So where was the inclusivity in the series of demands you presented to Pride Toronto?
The inclusivity of the terms that we created is the fact that we are a part of this community. This segregation between us and folks who identify as LGBTQ or folks that identify as a marginalized different things, we understand the intersections that it takes to fight against all oppressions. We didn't bully our way into Pride. We made space for ourselves at Pride. We made space for ourselves in a place where we have been erased, where people have forgotten the names of the people of us. And we made sure to recognize that all people who go through varying forms of oppression were represented today.
Okay, I want to end by addressing a tweet that was sent out by the Black Lives Matter Toronto Twitter account. It is an image of women. I'm not sure if you're in this image, speaking to a group of protesters, and you're saying, "We shut it down, we won, #Black Pride." What exactly do you mean by that?
What we mean by Black Pride is the fact that Black folks are representing and being a part of Pride. When we mean that we shut it down, it means that we were listening to communities and we were able to take it here to Pride today and get them to answer to us so that we were able to meet the demands for our community to make sure that there's space for Pride to come.
Okay, we'll see if your demands have been successful. Thank you, Alexandria.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great one.
Alexandria Williams is with the Black Lives Matter movement in Toronto. She took part in the sit-in. We have reached her and other Pride organizers for reaction to the protest, but we have not heard back from them as the parade is still underway.